What is up, guys? Today is the day we're finally slapping the rest of this bottom end together and we're going to dress it up. It looks pretty sick, so don't forget to watch the end of the video and see how this thing comes out. Got my drill here. I'm ready to get to work. If you guys are new to the channel and like this kind of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So if you guys haven't seen the previous two videos, here's where we're at. We have these outer cases still have to put on and this water pump, and we're going to slap those onto the engine today, as well as do some Cerakote work. If you guys have been following the channel, you know that we have a really good Cerakote and powder coat videos. Today we're going to be Cerakoting these cases. I'm not going to go super into depth on this. I'm kind of just going to go roll right into it so we can focus on the actual building part of this engine. But if you guys want to learn how to Cerakote, I have a really good video that I'll tag at the end of this one. But yeah, let's get to work. So this water pump's going to be a great example for me to show you how I remove gaskets. I put some degreaser on there, and then I take these cheap plastic gasket scrapers that are actually pretty sharp. It allows me to get under them all the way. I removed that area by hand, and it was, you can see all that residue, but this gasket scraper leaves nothing behind. So if you're removing gaskets off of older bikes that might be seized on there, definitely want to pick up a set of these. They'll be down in the description. So I'm going to tear this case down all the way. This bearing needs to come out, and this rusted power valve assembly. The reason why I'm tearing it down all the way is because I'm replacing every bearing and everything in this engine to brand new condition. So to remove the power valve assembly, I'm going to start by pulling out this screw here. This is what holds it in. Now I'll just pull out the power valve assembly now it's been released. Don't want to forget about this seal for the power valve assembly as well. Alright, so now I'm going to remove both of my dowel pins with some needle nose pliers here. Now I'm just going to heat up this bearing to around 220 to 250 degrees, hot enough to let that aluminum expand around it. And now I can just pull it out with a pair of needle nose pliers. Alright, now all the parts are ready for 30-minute soak in acetone. This inner clutch cover is not going to fit in there all the way, so I'm going to have to flip it over. And I'm also going to be taking a chance on this power valve arm here and Cerakoting it, and I'll tell you guys why on that later on in the video. The nice thing about Cerakote is you only need to worry about masking off the sealing surfaces and areas with specific clearances like bearing races. Pretty amazing to me how well the sandblast can move the pretty gnarly rust on this power valve arm here. So I just finished the gas out process on these parts at 300 degrees for 1 hour, and now they're all ready to paint. And now for these cases, I'm going to be using that same graphite black that I used in the last Cerakoting videos on the calipers. Alright, just finished flash curing these engine cases, but they did come out really cool, but I'm not done with them yet. I'm going to be Cerakoting again over the letters in a USMC red color. Alright guys, I just finished masking off these cases and it looks like they're ready to go. So I just finished flash curing these cases and I'm going to remove the tape and see how they came out, and if everything looks good then I'm going to put them in again for a full cure. Wow, this clutch side cover came out amazing. I can't wait to put it on the bike. Okay, these things came out amazing. The only thing is on that flywheel side case, you could see there's a little bit of a red mark there, but I'm going to try and touch it up. So I'm taking these cases out of the full cure and you can see I was able to touch up that red spot. There is a little bit of a line, but it's pretty subtle, so I'm hoping it won't be noticeable. Okay, and here's the final product of the cases we Cerakoted. I'm super happy with it, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about it. I think they came out amazing. Now it's time to finally put them on the engine and see how they come out. I don't know if you guys remember in the last video, but I ordered clutch plates for a 2005 YZ250 instead of the 2003 CR125, so I ordered them up and soaked them in oil overnight, and they're ready to go in. Okay, and I'm going to slap the case on the flywheel side here. I already have everything in, but after the last video when I was looking through my stuff, I did realize I forgot to put in these 3 bolts that go behind the flywheel. So I'm going to need to remove the flywheel to take care of it. So there is special flywheel pullers for bikes with flywheel weights like this one, but I'm just going to use a gear puller. You can either use a gear puller, I think Rocky Mountain sells some specialty flywheel removers. But if you guys haven't heard of a flywheel weight before, basically what it does is it makes the engine more torquey on the bottom end and kind of smoothens out that power band for tight trail riding. And I am going to be doing some trail riding on this bike, so I'm going to leave it on there. I've never had one with this before, but I'm just going to leave it on and see how it feels. Really looks like this case ties together the flywheel side of this engine, brings a nice tone to it. And here we had 2 dowel pins. I already removed the first one, but we have the second one here, and How I remove stuck dowel pins, because these ones were rusted in there pretty good. The first step is to just put a rag in over the crankshaft. This will just protect the bottom end of the engine from any metal shavings coming off the dowel pin from falling into the bottom end. The next thing I do is find the biggest one of these Allens that'll fit into that dowel pin, and this will just prevent the dowel pin from squishing in as I compress it with a wrench, and it'll also give something for that wrench to grab onto. Now I'm just going to take some pliers. Here I'm going to use some Robo Grip pliers and kind of get on the flat side of that Allen bit and rotate it around to break the seal on it. And after I got that seal broken, I'm going to apply as much upward pressure as I can while I'm rotating to pop it out of there. Also, if you guys had any metal shavings, you can take a magnet like this and just kind of run it around to pick up those shavings. And now that I cleaned out the dowel pin holes, I'm going to take some Permatex anti-seize lubricant, which I've used in my other videos, and put it on the bottom of these new dowel pins and pop them in there. Alright, now we're ready to work with this inner clutch cover. We still have a few bearings and seals and the water pump that we need to put in there, but after that we're good to go. Alright, I'm going to start with the power valve bearing here. I'm going to heat the case back up to 220 degrees, set it on there with some pliers, and then grab a socket that'll fit around it and push it in the rest of the way. For the water pump assembly, I'm going to start with 14 and 15, which are the two seals. So normally you drive a seal in this way, but what you got to think about here is this case goes on the engine, right? So you have engine oil in here. So you're actually protecting from this direction. So this is the direction of the seal that you want facing towards the engine oil. Grease around it. Go ahead and get it in the groove straight here. Start to push around it. Now we'll flip the case over and go ahead and install our water seal or coolant seal. A lot of people make that same mistake and want to drive it in this way because it's facing towards the engine, and that's how seals normally go in. But in fact, the water seal actually is protecting the engine oil from the coolant. So we'll drive it in this way. And if you guys ever seen like milky oil or something, that's probably because your water seal went out or you put it in incorrectly. And now we can put some grease on this water seal, pop it in there by hand, and then take a socket that'll fit around the outer edge and hammer it in with a rubber mallet. And now I can install the water pump bearing. I'm going to heat it up the same way. Just want to make sure that I'm not getting it too hot because the rubber seals will melt if I get it too hot. Okay, now I'm going to put some assembly lube on the bearing and seals and then on my water pump gear so I can go ahead and push it through without damaging any of the seals. As you're pushing it through, just give it some light downward pressure and twist it as it goes in. Put the oil seal in, so now I need to install this washer and then the water pump impeller, and then don't forget the two dowel pins that'll go after. And then I like to install the water pump with one dowel pin on the case and then one on the water pump. So here goes my washer, and then can go ahead and thread on the water pump. Some of these are left-hand thread on I think some Suzuki models, so just watch that if you're working on a Suzuki. And now to torque the impeller onto the gear, I'm going to take a 9mm wrench and hold the flat part of the gear and then torque it down to 9 foot-pounds. Okay, so normally when someone does a engine rebuild or anything on a bike with a drain plug washer like this for the coolant drain plug, they'll have to order up the OEM replacement, which takes 2 to 3 days to get in and is about $5 to $10 for shipping. So I got tired of doing that, so I bought this crush washer kit from Tusk, and it was only $8, and I get like 50 different crush washers here, and I don't have to wait on ordering them in too, so I can go ahead and just install the Tusk crush washer on here. This is great for anything that doesn't have a direct clearance, so most things outside of the engine you'll be fine. Now I'm going to put my power valve arm in. I'm just going to grease it up first. So this is basically, for you guys that don't know, it's what connects the RPMs of the bottom end to the top end to turn the exhaust valve open or closed. I'm going to be making a detailed video on that, so if you guys want to see that, go ahead and subscribe. You can see the sandblasting kind of left some marks on it, but overall this Cerakote really tied this thing together and it's turning super smooth, so a lot better than I expected. The reason why I Cerakoted it is because of the corrosion protection. I didn't even expect it to make it rotate better, but it's going to help with the corrosion protection over time so it won't rust again. Now I'll just push that arm through the seal and then rotate it around just to make sure that everything's turning right, and it seems to be turning pretty good here, so I can go ahead and lock it in with a tusk crush washer and then the screw that holds it in place from the other side. And now I can insert the power valve gear, or also known as a governor, into the bearing. Now I can pop in the seal for the Kickstarter. And now I can just set the gasket onto there. Put a little assembly lube on the kickstart shaft. And then when I put this on, I'm going to make sure these two gears are lining up and going on flush onto the primary gear. Just going to push it on there and make sure it goes even, and then I can pop it on all the way. Okay guys, well now we can finally put on our clutch side case cover and see how good it looks. Alright guys, the bottom end of this engine came out absolutely amazing. I'm super happy with it, and I appreciate you guys watching to the end. Don't forget to smash that like button for me.